Today is April 4, Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform starts its operation today, and our first guest today is Vitaly Usatiy, charge d'affaires at the Ukrainian Embassy in Prague in Czech Republic. Good morning, Mr. Vitaly. Good morning, everybody. Mr. Vitaly, just to summarize the countries which support Ukraine, Czech Republic is one of such countries. And the first question will be of a general nature. What's your evaluation of the situation of what was going on during the last year? How many Ukrainians passed through Czech Republic? What aid and help did they get? What was the nature of that support, and how is it going to move further on? It's my pleasure to say that Czech demonstrates the support for Ukraine since the very first days of the war. In this regard, in terms of provision of aid to Ukraine, Czech is exemplary how to help Ukraine and how deep is their concern about us. The important are the numbers. Since the beginning of the war, the Czech provided refuge for 485,000 Ukrainians. In view of the size of this country and its population of 10 million, those figures are quite big. Also important is that Czech Republic demonstrates the consistent support of the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine. They support us in international organizations such as European Union, NATO, European Council, OSCE. Czech Republic joined all the sanction packages against Russia. They are the co-authors of the resolution of the General Assembly of the United Nations. The government of Czech Republic approved the resolution on closing the airspace for the Russian airplanes. They withdrew their ambassadors from Russian Federation and closed the Russian consulates in Karlovy Vary and other cities. They seized the operations of the Czech consulate in St. Petersburg and Moscow. They cancelled the visas for the citizens of Russia and Belarus and started the full-scale inspection of the cooperation of the businesses between Czech Republic and Russian Federation. On the 24th of February 2022, the Chamber of Deputies condemned the armed aggression against Ukraine. The same resolution was adopted on the very next day by the Senate. Czech Republic recognized the Holodomor of the years 32-33 as the genocide of the Ukrainian people. Also, Czech Republic demonstrates consistent support in terms of creation of the special tribunal to bring the Russian war criminals to justice. What's also important is the Czech Republic took patronage over the Dnipropetrovsk region, and they demonstrate the support to the Dnipropetrovsk region. In the government level, there is a program for humanitarian economic aid for Ukraine is approved for the years 2023 to 2025. There was a lot of humanitarian aid provided, and also Czech Republic supports us in the energy field. Within the last year, Czech Republic supplied more than 800 generators and more than 130 transformers to Ukraine. At the level of the President, Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Czech Republic stepped up with the proposition of not admittance of Russian and Belarusian athletes to the participation in the Olympic Games in 2024. We have questions on the floor, please. You mentioned about the military support provided by Czech Republic. Recently, the President of Czech Republic said that Czech exhausted their capabilities. They still see some opportunities in terms of airplanes and manufacturing of ammunition, but still they don't have enough working hands that could be engaged from Ukraine. Do we have any joint projects which are very important for us? Please introduce yourself. Nadia Yurshenko, Ukrinform. Thank you for your question. First of all, I think that not all of the capabilities in terms of provision of military aid by Czech Republic were exhausted, we still work with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Minister of Defense with this. On this subject, Czech still has some reserves, and during every session of the government, they adopt another resolution on provision of military aid to Ukraine. For us, cooperation in all the spheres is important. Some projects will be implemented shortly that would allow us to reinforce our military potential to counter the Russian enemy. There will be a question in English language now.
Morning, Mr. Vitaly. Thank you for your patience. My name is Lorenzo Cremonesi from the Italian press, Corriere della Sera from Milano. Sir, can you be a little more precise?
Доброго дня.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Little more precise about the military amount, the military assistance in terms of tanks, ammunition, any kind of arms. Can you tell us a little more? Thank you.
Безумовно.
Well, obviously, thank you for your question. As you may know, now there is a large project being implemented with participation of United States funding and the Netherlands for the supply of the T-72 tanks to Ukraine, which is an ambitious project for Czech Republic. Also, Czech Republic helps us with ammunition a lot. Having very good historic memory about the events of the year 68 of their last century, they provide Ukraine with everything that Ukraine needs. We keep implementing the projects, the joint projects, and we keep emphasizing that the pace of this military support should be intensified. We have to reach a joint victory to achieve the joint victory in Europe that would create the secure situation all over Europe, including Czech Republic as well. Well, apart from the historic memory, Czech Republic has very good defense complex. We have more questions on the floor, please.
You mentioned the 68, and you know the famous figure of Jan Palach was one of the figure of our youth at school. But again, you mentioned the T-72. Please, can you be a little more precise? Numbers. Can you give us more figure about the amount of ammunition and military help? Airplanes, guns. We know that the army of Czechs, like many of the Arab of Western European, are old Soviet.
Дякую за запитання.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Well, under the project that I mentioned, we talk about the modified version of the T-72 tanks in amount of 90 items. It's just one of the projects being implemented. Czech Republic still has some reserves of the military material, including tanks, and we are still in negotiations to have those tanks supplied to the front lines in Ukraine, and so that those supplies continue. As to the ammunition, we're talking about thousands and tens of thousands of pieces of ammunition which are critically important for Ukraine in different calibers, and Czech provides everything that they can. Well, you mentioned the situation with Ukrainian refugees. So what's the number of Ukrainian refugees for the time being, and what's the situation with their support? How will the Czech government support them? What can they count on? Thank you for your question. As I mentioned, since the moment of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Czech Republic, according to the official data, provided the temporary permits for 485,000 Ukrainian refugees. In the March 2022, there was a law adopted, which is called Lex Ukraine, that creates legal grounds for staying of Ukrainian refugees in Czech Republic. Under this law, there is opportunity contemplated for financial aid to Ukrainian refugees in amount of 5,000 crowns, which is equal to about 200 United States dollars on a monthly basis. Also, under this law, the Ukrainian refugees receive medical insurance, and they have an opportunity to get the free social dwelling, and they are supported with their employment. Under this law, our citizens are allowed to be employed by Czech businesses and receive the salary. So how many Ukrainians are in Czech Republic for the time being? More than 285,000 received temporary permits for living in Czech Republic, but we have to understand that some of those Ukrainians left, so we're talking about the figure under 500,000 Ukrainians. There were some concerns about pro-Russian politicians, pro-Russian sentiment in Czech Republic. So this year of war, how did it influence the electoral sentiment in Czech Republic? Isn't Czech Republic tired of Ukraine, tired of events of Ukraine in Ukraine? How is Ukrainian factor influencing the Czech Republic? As I mentioned, Czech Republic has very good historic memory, and the support of Ukraine since the very beginning of the Russian invasion only keeps growing. Obviously, there were some pro-Russian sentiments. Sometimes there are meetings going on, but they are of not pro-Russian nature, but rather they are related to the fact that the level of life in view of the world market trends deteriorated a little bit, but there is a realization that we have to achieve a joint victory, just like a realization of the fact that Ukraine should be supported, because victory of Ukraine over the Russian enemy will bring peace to Europe, which will have positive impact on the security of Czech Republic. I keep hearing from our Czech partners the same questions. What else can we do for you? So this is very eloquent, in my opinion. Thank you. We want to thank our Czech partners. Joining us was Vitaly, Chargé d'Affaires at the Ukrainian Embassy in Prague. At 12 o'clock we will be talking with Yevhen Kramorenko, head of the State Agency of Ukraine on exclusion zone. We will be talking about Chernobyl, its condition after 1 year upon the occupation. See you shortly.